You guys could just tell me when I can go, because I can't see your screens, or I can't see the
Just
screen.
wait a couple of seconds. Okay. Go for it.
Can I start? Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Hello. Welcome to another FITSA talk. This one is centered around design today. I'm just quickly I'm just still showing off our new brand, and I'll just give a quick introduction. We used to have a community that was called, it had the same name, it was called FETSA, but it was Front End Development South Africa. And then we also started a product design community, which was called Zapped. And that was focused around product design. And then we also started working with another person where we that was more focused around mental health and other topics. And we decided to put it all together, and we kept the name FETSA, but now it is Front-End Engineering and Design South Africa. The name was just so catchy, we decided to keep it and gave it a new look. I'm sure the people who regularly join us have noticed that. The key areas that we focus on at this point is, so today, product design, front-end engineering, which was the original FETSA. We do a lot around beginner support, and then we also focus on mental health in tech. That's sort of our 4 cornerstones. We've got 2 sponsors at this point in time that has been long-time sponsors, but we are also trying to build some traction to get more sponsors for FETSA, just because everybody on this, everybody that does work for FETSA, we all do it on a volunteer basis. And we're getting in some services and people to help us manage all of this, because there's a lot of talks happening. So our 2 main sponsors at this point, one of them is called IO. IO is a product builder working with a lot of startups. We do a lot of innovation and custom development. I actually work for that company. And then Justin, who's also on the call, he works for NML. NML is a specialist financial services software and development company. If anybody is interested in getting involved in any kind of sponsorship, you can contact the email address here at the bottom, yoshua@fetsa.org, and he'll be able to send more information on that. And then our talk for today, AI-powered design, enhancing product design with digital tools. I just want to say really thank you to Aldo for doing this. We've got a good few people. I can't see how many people are on the call or on the stream, but we had a lot of RSVPs for this. Super excited for this one. I'm going to do I'm just going to basically say a little bit that's on the screen, but Aldo is a seasoned principal UX designer with 9 years of experience crafting award-winning user-centric solutions. As a Copilot, demo consultant, and AI enthusiast, he seamlessly blends cutting-edge technology with intuitive design. Aldo, I'm going to leave it at this, because I'm sure you're going to give us some more information about yourself and your history and how you ended up where you are today. If you want to follow Aldo, there it is. It's just on LinkedIn, Aldo Calitz. Easy to remember. And then I quickly just want to address the Q&A. When you post a comment on YouTube, we can see it on our end. When we take the question, we'll display the question on the screen. But for this, we're not going to keep the Q&A for the end of the discussion, although we could still have a Q&A at the end. If you do have questions, Aldo will stop at intervals and we can take some questions and answer it during the presentation. If you are streaming from LinkedIn, LinkedIn doesn't show the name of the person posing the question. It just says user. So please add your name in the comment if you want your name to display there. If you don't want to, just leave it off. And that's it. I don't know if I forgot anything, Justin. Oh, Discord, please. Justin will post a link to Discord. We are moving our communities away from Slack, and we're building a new one on Discord. So if you want to join us, the link is available for you to join. Thank you. I'm going to hand over to Aldo.
Awesome. Thank you, Liesel. Hello, everyone.
Pleasure.
So yeah, as the introduction went, my name's Aldo. I'm a seasoned UX service designer as well, and AI automation specialist. So anything in the AI space, love doing it. Um, I am also a Copilot demo consultant, so I work very closely with Microsoft launching some of their Copilot stuff in that space as well. So if you do have any questions related to that and how that connects to your product design workspace, feel free to also leave some questions regarding that in the comments. So today I'm basically just going to take you through a mock scenario, just because, as a lot of you know, we can't show actual live products or in product progress projects. So I've created a small workflow for us, and I'm going to stop at decent intervals, so to just take some questions if you have any. And I'm going to show you out of the norm UI tools. So not the Figma AI, I'm going to actually show you other tools that's out there that you can give a try. And I'm also going to look at some extra tools that you can utilize that can extend you as a person in your company as well, connected to product design, but also just to create some agents for you that supports you in other spaces as well. All right, so how I'm going to start off is we're going to go from I'm going to take it a lot from a freelancer's perspective, because that's what I am. I'm getting a project brief, and I've created a agent that's basically my assistant, and it scans through everything and helps me to very easily and effectively understand what's happening in the brief, and creates a few prompts for me in certain spaces, so that I can effectively, in 20 minutes, reply to a client with ideas, with a information architecture, and also perhaps a little example if AI understands us correctly. Um, as I said, in 20 minutes, and that's how you can wow anyone with the AI technology available. So, in essence, I'm not going to go through the full brief that we have, but basically, we have a client called Luxury Retail Solutions. We've got Sarah Chen. She's the head of digital transformation, and they're a premium retail company specializing in home decor, fashion, and technology products, and they require a dashboard for their sales management. So you'll see that this is just a normal Word doc that I have here. But what I'm going to use is I'm going to use Claude. I know a lot of you know ChatGPT, but Claude is my preferred one in this essence, just because of the project features that we can use. And I'm going to use a project that I created called the V0 Brief Management. So what I can do is I can just show you a little bit in the back end of how I basically did that. So you'll see that in the project knowledge, you can add content, so you can add text as content, or you can upload a file. But what I have done is I created a basically just a short instruction that says responses for a use and person demographics for Cuckoo in a separate artifact. And that's basically an instruction that I'm giving my agent, in essence, to help me just split everything that I'm doing in those assets. So if we go back here, and you'll see how easy it is, I'm basically just going to drop in the this brief, and I'm not going to give it any prompts. So just to show you how effective this really is, I basically just drop in the brief, and it's now generating everything that I need for it. So let's see if it actually does its work properly. with with this, it's always a game of chances, and it always responds differently. So you'll see that now it's creating an analytics dashboard for me. And I think what I didn't do is I did not select my project. So there we go. That's the problem that we faced. I didn't select my manager. So make sure, there we go. There's a clear example of selecting your project. So it didn't have context to do that, but it would have done it anyway. So there we go. I've got my project summary, and I've got my V0 development prompt, and I've got a client response template. So this basically, the client response template is my understanding of the project and taking it through it. The project summary is basically just breaking down the design into core objectives, key deliverables, technical focus, success criteria, as well as a timeline. And then I'm not quite sure how many of you know Cuckoo, or if it's even Cuckoo or Coco, but I'm going to call it Cuckoo for this instance. But Cuckoo is an alternative for UX pilots, and we can look at UX pilots as well if time allows us. So essentially what I would do is I would go and basically just copy this whole content from this V0 prompt, and I would go to V0 and essentially just paste it in here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to show you when to use AI and when not to use AI, and what the effectiveness of it will be. Now, you're going to see that obviously this will be a very complex system that it needs to understand at this stage. And for the functionality of product design, how I would recommend using V0 is essentially using V0 to come up with a first draft, or essentially use components and visualize components in a way that you can sort of prototype it effectively to hand over to developers. So just as a sort of key note from my side, that is how I would suggest using it from my experience. If you have other experiences with it, awesome. Please let me know how you do that. Let's just wait for V0 to finalize this. All right. So what it has done is it has created everything here. And now you can see that it created a very basic sales analytics dashboard. Now, I'm going to keep it at that. I'm not going to go any further really with this. And you can see there's also some fixes that needs to be made. And the nice thing about V0 is that it would automatically sort of run that code, and it would solve its own errors. But for the instance of this demo, I'm not going to do that, because I believe that what we have here is quite a decent sort of summary of what we need to focus on, because we've got total revenue, sales, active customers, average order values, and we can have a sales overview. And the reason that I don't want to make it too complicated is because we don't want to go to the client now and have this whole solution that we built, and they think, oh, you've built this whole platform in like 20 seconds. Why do I need to pay you? That's not what we're using AI for. AI is not here to replace us. It's here to enhance us. So that's the key takeaway from this. So essentially what you can do here is you can also just sort of preview it. And I promise you, if I were to fix this problem, I would have now had graphs in here, which is quite nice as well. But I am just going to take it like this because it gives me a very good foundation to go and have conversations about what needs to be on the page. And then post that, I would go into Fig Jam and create a information architecture, or if it's a very advanced site and I will do a user journey mapping through Cuckoo. So I'm going to run Cuckoo. Hopefully it's already signed in so that we don't have to do that. But essentially what Cuckoo would do is I can chat with some of the items that I have in here. I can do documents chat. we can set up discovery questionnaires. We can outline the design brief. Now you can see that I can use this tool as well to actually import the whole design brief, and it would also give me those exact milestones. But what I have done is I've actually taken Cuckoo's sort of design brief output and gave it to Claude to essentially say, listen, Claude, I want you to map this out. The reason that I'm doing that is because at a later stage, and you'll see it at a later stage, I am going to take the design and actually take it back to Claude and ask it if I missed anything. So that's the reason why I'm keeping it in Claude, is just for that reason. But you can use Cuckoo as well for this. You can set up user interviews, summarize some of the content on your pages, so all of your sticky notes as well. You can do affinity mapping, etc. But for this instance, we're basically just going to go and do some information architecture, and I'm going to go back to Claude. So I've got all of this information that we have here, and you can see that the application use, I can basically go in and copy like that and paste it in there. And then the next would be the person demographics. And you'll see that it gave me sales managers, team leaders, regional directors, etc. So it's quite clear as to what we need to use. And now I'm going to generate it. And while it's generating it, I just also want to mention that if you do this, always make sure that the content that you this level also still makes mistakes. So I'm just going to clean this up a bit because I gave it a very long title, and I'll paste it here on the side for us to see. So this is the title of the real-time sales performance monitoring, and you can see that it broke it up into a information architecture, and it actually broke it up into a full site. So obviously today we're just going to focus on the dashboard side of things, but it actually also gave you performance management. So that's the reason why I use Cuckoo, is it's not just thinking of the prompt that you're giving it, it's actually thinking a little bit further than the nose and looking at what would also be beneficial for your product at this level. So what I would do then is I would then go and say, okay, listen, we've got the information architecture. We've got a screenshot of a whole product onboarding or project onboarding do within the project. Is essentially, as soon as you get a brief or step out of a meeting, you can go in and scope everything out by using a AI agent to gather everything that you need, create prompts, jump in V0 or Cursor or any other generative platform. Claude can even also do something like that as well. And essentially just let it get you to the first draft. Let it set things up. The nice thing about that is especially if you're working in a silo, if you're the only designer, it acts as a buddy. It can keep you accountable. It can keep you sort of matched on what your KPIs are, what what you need to actually deliver in your project. So you can use that as a sort of focus area, and you'll see that what I will do at a later stage as well is I always ask at the end is, are you sure? Did you make sure that this is everything? And remember, as I said, always make sure of the output as well. And at this level, I'm going to stop here because we basically just finished the sort of research side of things. If we do have any questions regarding the phase up to here, I'm happy to take them at this stage before we jump into actually wireframing, etc.
There's just one question, but it's a fairly general one, so I think we can leave that till the end. And carry on, Liesel.
Yeah, I do have some questions, but I will leave them for the end for now. Yeah, you can continue. Aldo, can you hear us?
Did we get the question? Sorry. I missed it. Yes, sorry. I think it was
Sorry, it's a little
lag in the
delayed. There's a little
signal.
delay. Okay.
No, we can just continue.
Cool.
Aldo.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that, everyone. All right, perfect. So obviously, let's go post that. We got everything that we sorted as a foundation. Obviously, in the UX phase, you can go a lot more. You can use platforms like UX Pilot, that essentially also does everything in the UX phase that Cuckoo does. I just prefer Cuckoo because of its primary focus on the UX side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into a mock example for us to essentially go into a wireframing phase that we can utilize to obviously draw up the example. Now, obviously, all of us know of the new UI3 examples that we can essentially go in and create a first draft in Figma. But what I want to introduce you to is figure identity. And while that loads, there's always also another platform that I would love to show you, and that's called Creati. Now, Creati is sort of an alternative for Figma, and it's primarily focused on AI design. So if we look at the dashboard, obviously we have quite a few blocks that we need to complete, and we've got this sort of big graph in the middle. So if we quickly want to go in and, sorry, let me just get the right tool here, draw a few blocks and basically just say what did we have at the top, total revenue. We can essentially go and create a few sort of examples. So maybe dashboard would be the correct example here in this instance, or metrics. See, that's the thing about AI, is that you need to know how to prompt it so that you can essentially get to the right space. So you'll see that I drew a block here, and it would now try and fill in the gaps with some information that we can use as a foundation. So that is essentially very cool to just quickly come up with a lot of quick examples. It's failing me now, obviously, as you want to showcase it. But essentially, what you can do is you can pull that in, and everything is editable. So that is essentially what I would suggest using Creati for, is just going in and just drawing a few blocks and going and saying, okay, cool, this is some of the ideas that we have. We want you to be able to top up your account if you go in there, and let's just draw another block, and let me just get something more related. Okay, there we go. So what I can also do now in Creati is that I can click Style Guide and extract everything there and generate. And now I've got a whole design system catered towards the designs that I just made. So this is why I would suggest Creati, is just because of that quick, effective work, and then everything that you do here is transferable to Figma, and it's also vice versa. If you work in Figma and you quickly want to put it into Creati, you can put it into Creati, and it will also automatically create a design system for you. So if we jump back into Figma itself, I was scared that this was going to happen. But goodness, I just logged in. All right. But so what Figure would do is, I'm just going to remove that for us so that that's running in the background. But what Figure would do is essentially it would automatically create a wireframing for you. And let's just go back. Yeah. And automatically create a design system like we do in Creative. So if we, goodness, why do I need to do all of this again? Okay, I'm just going to do that. Perfect. So in the wireframe examples that we're going to draw up, is that you can see that I can go into Figure and build out a few components, and these components you can quickly use to draw up high fidelity prototypes. So I can pull things in here. I can put in a nav title. Okay. Yeah, so it's breaking a little. Goodness. Sorry about that, everyone. There we go. Component visualization. Let's maybe try and create a new example page and run the plugin again. All right. So what Figure essentially does is builds out components, and while you drag it in, it's automatically editable, as well as the code editor is coming soon. But it will automatically set the tokens for you in your design system, which means that you can now go from wireframe to high fidelity more effectively and super fast in essence. Because everything that I do in here is pulled through. I can go and edit it if I need to, and you'll see that it's not pulled into the design system just yet, as a variable or a style, but your foundation is set clearly, and you can go in and essentially not have to do all of the hard work. Think of what colors matches what. How do I do all of the sort of crop shadows, etc. It just does everything. In essence, what it would have done is the component visualization would have dropped here, so you could have seen that. But unfortunately, the plugin did not work as I expected it to at this stage. So let's just continue and go to the example page. We've now dropped in all of our wireframing components, and we ended up with the high fidelity prototype that we want to sort of go in and sort of go into prototyping now and do a little bit of a handover with. Everything is sorted. I'm using just a normal Figma community sort of dashboard, and you can see there's the accreditation if needed. So I'm just going to go and copy this, and I want to show you what I meant with V0 not getting everything correctly set up for us from the get-go. So if I were to put it in here and drop that image in here and say essentially just do a basic prompt to say, I need to let me just do that, prototype this dashboard. Can you create some interactions for me? All right. So very basic prompt in this to just get things kicked off. And something in the AI spaces, and I know I mentioned it a lot in the beginning, is that the prompting that you give as a basis would guide the rest of your work going forward. So it's basically rinse and repeat, try a new prompt, see if it works, see if it doesn't work, and you'll get to know the platform as well and see how it behaves. And that's the reason why I suggest going with a platform where you can create agents, and essentially teach them how you would like them to behave. And that's the reason why I like Claude as much. So yeah, you can see as I put it in here, it created not a bad looking platform, but um, us as UX designers, you'll definitely see some usability issues here, some contrast related issues. Um, and obviously we can't see anything. There's no real interactions. So and it also it also broke. So yeah, that's the reason why I said, of course, go in, use V0 to help iterate, help create some interactions. But what I would suggest is take a similar or a smaller component um, in its sort of atom phase, and try and prompt that and give it some extra behavior, so that if you want to give it to a developer to quickly and effectively um, help you to obviously do the interactions there. So let's see if it's back at it again. So we can upload this. I think it just took the background there. So let's just go copy. Let's see if it's grabbing everything. There we go. Perfect. Great. Now I'm just going to give it a bit of an extra prompt that basically guides it to how I want it to behave. So, are you kidding me? All right, let me just do this quickly while it runs in the background. Perfect. I have this component that I want to interact with, and I want it to have a hover state and an active state. I am thinking that the icon color becomes the background color on hover, and it just gets a order on active or focused state, whatever naming convention you'd like there. And I am not quite sure why everything is breaking now, but at least it's working in the background. All right, let's see it do its thing. Okay, so you can see that this was the prompt that I gave it, and here's the interaction. So I still need to do a little bit of extra prompting for this to be very effective. So I can say, please make it a square and make the value white text. So there's a lot of sort of prompting that you can do essentially to speed things up like this. And the reason why I like to use V0 for this is that I can go in and I can go test the interactions, how it should look like. And you can see there's like a focused state. I still need to prompt him on the focus state, but the component in essence is working quite nicely. So that is the reason why I use V0, so that I can essentially just go and say, yep, that works. It's looking quite nicely, and I can essentially just go and give the code like that. I'm not saying this code would work with every developer. That's not what I'm saying, but it gives them a foundation to work from. Um, and now that we have the screen in essence in this space over here, obviously what we need to do is we need to document it. We need to create a design system, and we essentially need a place to manage that. And what I've done is just for interest's sake, I took the shared UI components and basically put it inside of a. Let me just get that going. Um, inside of this page, so that we have all of the components that we're going to use in here, and you can see that these are all of um, the the states that it's in. Now, just to give you a little bit of context of where we are, V0 uses ShadCN UI. It's an open source design system for the example that I'm going to use. Is I'm just going to use this design system as a foundation for to show you how you can easily pull in your design system and your designs and your custom components into a platform that you can essentially. I had a chat with the founder the other day, and if all goes well, he'll give us a few discount codes that I'll share with the Fedsa team to distribute if you want to test it out. And this platform is called Figmayo. So essentially, what we'll do in Figmayo is we'll pull in the whole Figma file, and what it'll do is it'll go and fetch all of your design system components and your components in general. It will pull in the variables. In the next release, you'll be able to actually leave your comments there. You can structure everything in that sense. Um, and it's an external space where you don't have to manage everything in one space. So let's just get into that space quickly. See, my files are failing me. All right, great. So I'm just quickly going to show you how to pull in, how easy it is to pull in your whole Figma library. So I'm going to go back to Figma. I'm going to click share, going to copy the link, and I'm going to drop it in here. There we go. We're going to sync the library. Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, I am quite sure that there's components in here. Ooh, this is a. All right, let's try that again. Let me just go and share. Wonder if it is because I did not publish this site yet. No, it is published. Okay, share. All right, copy link and put it in here. Let's just quickly do some checks here. Interesting that it's doing that. Otherwise, let me just quickly grab this. So I'm just going to pull in a design system that I worked on for a quick client. It's just for your eyes. Just because there's a small error that's happening. I see my tools are failing me the day that I want to present it, but that's always the case, is it not? So I'm going to copy this link and going to paste it in there. And now it should do its thing. Perfect. There we go. Okay, so what it's doing now is it's literally going through your site structure, and it's going to find all of your design components. Um, and while it's doing that in the background, so Figmail, uh, you can set up permissions, you can set up your brand, you can connect it to a custom domain, so that you can essentially keep your design system at a separate domain, maybe a subdomain for your company, that they can essentially go in and see, okay, cool, yeah, these are the active components that we need to use. This is how the buttons need to interact. So think of it like a storybook, um, where it's very simplified. Anyone can understand it. Anyone can go to it and essentially just interact with the design system. And it also generates code and connects to your GitHub repository, which is very effective. So while it's loading there in the background, I think this might be a good place to stop for questions while it's loading, if we do have any. If you have questions as to why the components and the plugins keep breaking, I'll be happy to accept them as well.
I do want to ask a question regarding, I don't know if you've ever done it, but once you have a design, that handover to development, to break it down into, because that's quite a lengthy exercise to break down and do definitions of done for certain tasks. Have you ever done that?
Yes, yes. So something that I don't think we have time for is the automations that you can set up for certain things as well. So um, I have a automation that I've set up that runs in the background, that connects to a Notion site or a ClickUp site, um, just because I have those API integrations. And what I would do is I would connect certain Figma, the Figma links to the designs essentially, and connect it to the ticket itself. And as that ticket moves through certain stages, it would prompt me to do a few extra things as well, and it would fetch all of the data. I would generally, in my handover sessions, I always do a documentation and a loom, especially if it's a very big project, and it would connect everything and move it through the spaces, and obviously communicate with the developers as well. And the nice thing about that is that it also keeps track of the progress, the interactions, and it also would check if there's any change logs that took place. I've integrated watches as well, so that it links um, to the GitHub repositories as well. So it watches everything there and it brings it back to the ticket itself.
Okay. Any other
Awesome.
questions?
There aren't any at the moment.
Perfect. I hope it's because I'm explaining good.
You are.
Okay, good. All right, great. So Figma has completed its uploading. So the only thing that we need to do now is just to go through everything, and you're going to see how cool this is. So as your foundation, so your core, you'll get everything in this sense. But this is sort of your dashboard. So it would look at everything in this space. You'll see that these are your normal regular MUI components as a foundation. And I can click into maybe an alert, and you see I can toggle all variants on and off, so you can see all of the variants for that. I can click what state I want to see, and I can share the current filter. So if I had an area, I can basically go copy this, share it with my developer, and say, listen, okay, so here's the error version of it. And then it also gives you the sort of the variants that you have inside of it. So you can see there's string, true and false. I've got a Boolean here as well. So it's a very, very decent, very, very decent design documentation system as well, because it, even if I go to, let's say, a toggle button, I can essentially go in here and see what nested components there's inside. I can see the size variance, and I can also see sort of extra formatting that I've done, and essentially go back to Figma itself and view the different variants like this. Now, as I mentioned, I had a chat with the founder. They are going to do a change log here so that you can see the changes that's been made at certain levels as well. They just did an update on the on variant controls as well. So this is a platform that I recently started working with and loving, and you can see how easy it was just to quickly get everything in here. And the nice thing about this is that because it uses links, it means that you can use it in your AI automation system. So you can plug it into make.com or Zapier, and this actually links very well with your question that you had, Lisa. Is that um, I can now go in and plug it into our project management system to do that whole process of, is it done? Is it not done? Here's an update or something. So that's the nice thing about this as well. So this is sort of my design documentation tool that I prefer above Storybook at the moment. So I would, in essence, say that this would be sort of the end of the tools that I would like to show in getting things done. Uh, what I've also done is I've set up a Notion board for us that I'll share with you guys now. That you can view this whole presentation, get a little bit of a breakdown in sort of a presentation format. But there's sort of a last item or a last project that I just want to sort of pull in. It's a platform called Toscade. Now, if you don't know Toscade, this will be a sort of game changer for you, because essentially what it does is, let me just do a full screen for you guys. Essentially, what it does is you can set up AI agents, you can set up AI teams, you can set up automations, and your AI agents obviously focuses on very specific things that you prompted on. Has a overarching goal that it needs to accomplish. But the nice thing about the AI teams is those AI agents actually chat with each other and find the best agent to complete the goal. So I'm just going to do a very, very quick demo for you here. So we can go in, we can create a AI agent, and let's in this case just say I want to create a UX design AI agent. And now it's loading it, which is very cool because it already has a prompt library in its head that it essentially works in. So it'll automatically name it. It'll automatically give it instructions, commands, and tools that it needs to use, and in what language it needs to do it in. So you can see that commands: analyze user feedback, prototype designs, conduct usability testing, generate user personas. And you can see that the tools that it can currently do is ask an agent. So it will ask another agent to help out. You can create posts that it works with. Now, Toscade is mainly used for project management, and sort of a focus on getting your head around a lot of things, and it can also go and do research. But I just quickly wanted to show you how you can create one. You can see that I can now add onto its knowledge base. I can drag files in here. I can add other projects that's already been created to it. Media links. I can even go in and drop a YouTube video. So if you feel that my description was way too long in this whole hour that I spoke, you can go in at the end, drop the YouTube video in here, ask your AI agent to summarize it for you, and it will summarize everything for you in that YouTube video as well. And you can even connect it to your Google Drive and even Markdown text. But let's go and actually see it in action. So we're going to create a team, and we're going to create another agent. Let's just pull in a researcher, and we're going to add that researcher in, and let's maybe go in and do a product launch planner. All right, now these what I've just selected are Cascade bots that's already been created, and let's just call it a UX research validation team. All right. So anything that you basically prompt in here will feed out. So let's actually go in and copy everything in here and drop it into Cascade. And now you're going to see here at the bottom, it's delegating the task. So my product experience designer is going through it. It's going through the whole brief that we just looked at. It's getting some items. It's summarizing everything. And now I can go in and ask it, so how would we map out this project with my development team? All right. So I on purposely did that because we don't have any bots in here that can essentially handle this request. So now I can go in, I can go and create an agent. Oh, I am not on the free plan, guys. Okay. Anyway, again, tool failed me. Essentially, what you can do is you can go in. I can go and add an agent that's very much focused on development. It can essentially be a COO or a CTO that you're basically creating as an agent, and it would now go and manage that task for you. Great. And then after that, you can go in and create automation. So as soon as, let's say my product designer went and summarized my whole project, it can now go and ask the CTO to go and plan it and structure it so that the development, you can see that there's project management. So it's a good tool to have in your back pocket to essentially just quickly drive through items. And again, it's something that you can connect through Webhook, unfortunately, but you can connect it with Webhook to platforms like make.com and Zapier to basically just connect it to your AI automation workflow. So I just quickly, I know we're almost running out of time, but I just quickly want to go through this Notion doc and show you what to expect. So basically, I'm just running through how to utilize this whole process that I worked in, some key improvements that I've seen myself, areas that you can use AI integration, initial steps, perhaps some do's and don'ts, and then some key takeaways. And then also, I created a nice presentation for you that you can go in and look at, that basically just goes through the whole workflow that I explained it. So we were setting up the design systems. We had some AI personas, and then we also did some design prototyping with prompts, and basically just showing you how it connects in your ecosystem. So what we didn't look at is we didn't look at Notion as a CRM and project management tool, and we also didn't look at Zapier and make.com to automate some of these processes that can essentially drive everything through it. But let me quickly just share this link for you. I'm sure that they will share it with you in your respective areas. But yeah, I think that's it from my side.
I've got a few questions.
Perfect.
Would you use, I mean, today was a demo. So would you
Yes.
use all of these in your workflow, or is it just for demo purposes? Because it feels like a lot to have all of them in your workflow, or do you kind of select which one is fit for purpose for what you want to achieve or the project? How do you typically take that on?
Yeah. Yeah. So as a foundation, let's say at the start, so I would always use Claude as sort of my go-to. So something that I didn't show is sort of having this as my buddy to just look at the designs that I did. So maybe something like this, where I go to Claude and basically ask him, did I meet all of the requirements? So I would basically have Claude as my buddy um, that looks at everything. It holds me accountable. It runs everything. V0 is a very case by case basis. For this demo purpose, I basically brought it in as an example of like how to use it, when not to use it. It's the same with Cursor. If you're a little bit more sort of tech savvy or code savvy, Cursor is sort of another alternative for V0. There's other platforms like Bolt and stuff that you can use as well. And but to answer your question, no, I don't necessarily think you need to have everything in your workflow. But if you have the platforms like Make.com and Zapier set up, it's very easy to have all of these tools set up in your workflow, and a lot of them actually just run in the background. And you can essentially just chat through Slack or something, and it runs everything in the background for you. Um, but something that Claude I use on the regular. Cuckoo is basically just at a single phase that I use it. It's more for my UX research, UX interview phases, and that's sort of my tool that I keep for that. Um, and then design documentation wise is Figma. So yes, there's a lot of tools, but I would suggest keep the tools that you feel comfortable with, that you think for that case it would work best.
Okay, then I've got a very I've got another question. Sorry, I'm hogging, but I see there's not that many questions here yet. The experienced designer versus the beginner. So you would with your experience level, you would almost know already what you would expect from it. And you'd be able to validate. But what about or not? Maybe just what is your take on? Because I could almost see this going very wrong for a beginner trying to execute something like this. So what's your opinion or your take on that?
Yes. No, I 100% agree with you. There's obviously an expected outcome that you expect with a lot of AIs, and um, I would always suggest that you have the foundation first. Don't expect AI to do the work for you. It's only there to enhance you. And I know I said it before. Um, but if you do a first draft of an AI, do it like that, especially if you're a beginner. Yes, let it draft everything for you first. Let it be an inspiration for you, but still go through the working, still use your knowledge that you perhaps did with your studies or your workshops or whatever you went through to get to the stage where you're at. Use that knowledge to obviously guide you to the expected results. And I know even if you're like a junior or something, or sort of going into a mid or senior position, is that you always have someone that always look at your work. So if you have the opportunity to sit with them and sort of prompt an expected outcome, that would be extremely valuable. So in saying that, your prompt foundation, the expected outcomes that you have is extremely valuable in this case. And I think that's the biggest gap that you'll find in not only sort of your experienced designers with the outcome, but your experienced prompters, the way that you prompt to get your outcomes. And I
Yeah.
think that's where the differences would show.
Okay. And then I see there's a question that came in. I just want to ask. So I'm not from a design background. I just have a interest in it. And staying up to date with tools and what's out there. But if I look at it from a company perspective, so I don't know, Justin, you maybe feel the same. But some of these tools are not they're not mature yet. The tools and services and the plugins. And so from a company perspective, sometimes I would have a worry if we start implementing plugins that's not going to be supported anymore, or tools that come into existence and a year later they are not available anymore. I think I made a statement and not so much asked a question, but it is one of those concern areas that I think companies do need to think about when they implement these changes.
Yeah, if I can just add to that, Liesl, another big concern for us as a company is around data collection and privacy on any of these tools that we're putting into Figma. I mean, we work with financial services institutions. We have sensitive data that lives even in our Figma files. So we don't install any plugins without doing like security and data sharing audits on them. And people on my team cannot just use a plugin. I have to approve it. And we do that through quite a serious process. So there are those things that we have to bear in mind when we're working with sensitive data. But I do think this is something we're going to have to just deal with as an industry anyway. Yeah. So it's the kind of things we're going to have to put into service level agreements around all of these kinds of things as we move forward. Yeah.
I mean,
just my two cents.
Well, I think you have to think about that. I'm not 100% sure I guess in freelance you do have a little bit more freedom.
Yeah.
When you're working with a company, we internally just ask that people divulge to us when they're using a tool so that we know. Not a tool, specifically an AI tool. I love Claude. I use Claude daily. I love the interaction with it. I wish we had more time to go back so that you can show them how to set up a project and how to run that, because you had it pre set up, and I don't think a lot of people know that you can do these things. But we as in a organization, we just ask that people say their lead developer that they're using something like, and we've basically created a whitelist of tools that we have that we vet and that we're happy with, and we have a policy that goes with it, so just for responsible use, and that people get notified when you're using something or testing something. But it's part of our daily lives now, and we can't get away, and everything has a Copilot built in already. GitLab,
it does.
GitHub. So there's some questions.
I'm sorry, can I just add one small little thing to that? Figma is very open, particularly on the organization plan, on what kind of data every single plugin is collecting. And you have actually access to that as an admin on Figma. So you can actually go, if someone asks to use a plugin, you can go and say, yeah, we can use this one, it's fine. Or you can say, oh no, we can't because of these data collection things that they do. So that it's very transparent. It's not hidden away, and you suddenly get a weird thing where they're actually scraping everything or whatever. So those kinds of things are actually very visible in Figma. Cool. First of all, a comment from Bianca, who just said, thanks so much. It's been very useful. So thanks, Aldo. And she's definitely going to play around with all these different platforms. There's one general question that came in much earlier, but I'll come to that one last because I think it's more of a general conversation. Here's one about how do we approach interviews when we have access to AI tools and design ratings to evaluate candidates?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to grab that one. So there's some nice tools out there, and Figma also has a few built-in ones as well. If you don't want to move out of the as our previous conversation, if you don't want to use plugins to do that, the nice thing that you can do is, especially in like platforms like Copilot and Cuckoo, is you can go in and set up your approach for the user interview. So you can set up your goals, you can set up what you need to gather some sort of some validations that you need to sort of look for, and it will basically structure a lot of the questions for you and build out your whole sort of workshop in essence. And then the nice thing about that is that post your workshop, you can go and group things and you can ask it to cluster everything for you as well, which is very handy because, I mean, if you started UX design where everything was still sticky notes that you had to do on a whiteboard, like the one behind me, you know how long clustering takes. So that's in itself, the AI tool in itself for that is super effective. And then I know I mentioned UX Pilot before, but for UX Pilot, you can actually pull in your designs to get a design audit on it as well. So it will help with your design ratings to help you, especially evaluate candidates. Because I'm thinking that this might be from a HR perspective as well to look at some of your candidates' work.
Cool.
You know, the thing with this is so handy is and why I initially just had this idea to create a product design community is when you have really small teams and you don't necessarily have all the people on your team to be able to execute certain things, you know. So they are helpers. It's just really the pitfall for me is when you cannot validate whether or not it's exactly what you need or require yet. So you could, and there's a balance. There's definitely a balance. But you can also before doing that, you can use it first to do research so that you build up some knowledge as well. You know, you don't just have to fling into the first answer it gives you. You can spend a little bit of time on it, and I have to do that because we're in the tech industry. You got to learn at the speed of light. So I mean, the thing we all do is we build up a wave to teach ourselves very quickly. And now I've just adopted that into my daily life. So, you know, I used to go, like, I'm teaching my son as well. You don't just read one article and believe it. You scan through 5 articles and you draw a comparison. It's basically the same thing, you know.
Ask Perplexity to summarize everything for you.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, so this one was early when we were doing introductions and so on, and I don't know if we can answer it.
The answer is yes, but no.
Yeah.
This is a little bit beyond our topic, but I mean, I would just quickly say that titles mean nothing. They are contextual, and you can be a UX and UI designer in this organization and a product designer in another organization and do exactly the same thing. So it's, I don't think we should get into the weeds on that.
I think it depends on the mood.
Business people like product design because it sounds like you're selling something and they like that.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of
yeah.
titles for like UX, UI, product design,
Yeah.
interaction designers.
It fluctuates
So,
all the time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the perspective. For me, it's the perspective that you look at it that makes you a product designer or a UX UI designer. A product ultimately is something that you're going to sell. That's how I look at
Yes.
it. So, it's software as a service. You're going to charge people money for it. So, product designer needs like a vertical with a lot of parts in it. They need to understand some marketing. They need to understand copy and tone.
Yeah.
Absolutely, UX and UI, visual interaction. So it's like a horizontal slice of many things. But I think the bulk of what you do is UX UI. But with the lens of this is a product and it needs to be sellable at the end of the day. It's
Perhaps
not
a broader focus. Yeah.
it's not a system that you're building for Remax that they're going to use to rent out their properties with if only Remax is going to use it. Then you look at it from a different perspective. It's my take on it.
That's actually a very good explanation of it, actually.
Thanks. It's taken me a while.
We just have one more comment from Andres, which quickly just related to the discussion we were having around managing these tools within organizations and so on. Is keeping sensitive data out or rewriting it. Yeah. Oh, Lisa, look, LinkedIn now has people's names.
Oh, wow. Okay. Problem solved.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on this. Personally, I like to use real data.
Yeah, I think this is sort of I would say sort of a case by case situation. In some cases, you can do it like that. What I also like to do is sort of set up mock personas to sort of test ideas in the research phase as well. But I mean, the whole idea of using these tools to sort of get you to a certain point is to use the data that you have and validate everything. But yeah, I can 100% also see the other side where you sort of just keep it very broad and sort of just scope out some things. But I think it's rather safe than sorry in cases like this. Rather be open and even check the privacy policy. So because I know, especially like a year ago, there was none like it, and a lot of people sort of ran business ideas through it, and ChatGPT actually has rights to them all because you use their platform to do it.
And Figma as well has a little switch you could turn on or off in your settings about whether they can use your designs for their AI learning tool.
Yeah. So let's go check that.
Yeah, check that in your admin. It's turned off by default for organizations, but it's turned on by default for personal accounts.
Okay, I see. Somebody thought about that.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. Yeah, it was very insightful. You used a lot of tools, I must say. So there's a lot there to go and check out. Actually, Toscade, is it Toscade?
Toscade.
Yeah. So
I put the links in.
Toscade. Okay, that looks very interesting to me.
And they just did an update. Yeah, they just did an update. So everything. I don't know why it pulled me out of my subscription. Maybe I was just logged out for some reason. But yeah, it's the whole workflow that you can do in there. I've literally gone in and validated business ideas, set up content strategies, etc. In matter of minutes.
Okay. And then Figma looks very interesting as well.
Yeah, I'll let you guys know if I get those discount codes, then I'll send it through to you. If you want to play with a premium license.
Yes, I'm very glad that you showed that. I didn't know about it at all, and I can tell you, documentation is where things fall apart so often, especially when
Exactly.
you've got budgets and timelines and your documentation. Oh, we'll do that later. Do we do it later?
No.
No.
Nope.
So you said that you prefer that to storybook.
Yes, personally. It's just because I think also because I have a little bit of extra insight because I had a chat with the founder, because I know what's coming as well, which is very exciting. And storybook is nice. Don't get me wrong, it's very nice, but I like the sort of the fact that it's super easy to use. Basically, pulled in everything I can create. I know Storybook also has everything that Figma has at this level, but it just feels like it just goes that little step further where you can set the variables, commenting and sort of the comments that you leave as developer notes in Figma. They're looking into getting that into your Figma space as well, so you can actually go in, see comments, so annotations, etc. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It's literally a connection. It feels part of Figma rather than Storybook being like a part, like separated from it.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay. It's just a tool fatigue, jumping between so many things, you know. It's but it's I think it's a real thing. If you interact, the difference between interacting with 10 tools a day versus 25.
Yeah.
It's a lot of overhead, it's a lot of switching. Not all of them does the same thing with the same shortcut keys. So I think at some point it becomes more cumbersome than helpful. So I think over time the tools we're gonna see a lot of like it's gonna mature.
Yes.
It's already, if you think about where it was a year and a half ago and where it is now, is worlds apart to me. I think we actually a year and a half ago everybody spoke about it from a place of fear, and the conversation has evolved so much. It's people are really looking at it with a different lens because there's less fear and more sort of mastering. You know, it's a different perspective.
I think what you said right up front is so crucial, that it's a tool that enhances your workflow. It's not a replacement for proper design and all of those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I would 100% rather say it's there to enhance you and not replace you. So
but I think what's really important is that you designers need to embrace these tools, otherwise they will be replaced. That sounds harsh, but if we don't get on board with this, it's not going away. We have to start integrating these tools into our workflows as soon as possible.
And it shows you how easy, like V0, you can go in and prompt it to say, listen, I want to do this and this and this, and you can explain exactly what you want, where you want it, etc. And I think what I'm seeing is that a lot of briefs and perhaps clients that you're going to work with, or even your project owners or product owners, will essentially go into platforms like this and draw up an initial draft for you as a product designer, to go in and take it further and sort of essentially scope it out, do whatever you need to do. So your whole process loop, where your design process takes about 6 months to complete, it can now be done in 1-2 months.
V0 is, I mean, I use it all the time, and because I can knock out a fully functioning Next.js prototype app in half an hour. It's never a finished product, obviously, but how do you validate what you're designing? You need to do it in the browser, and V0 just gives that to you like that, just like that. It's amazing. I highly recommend.
Exactly. Exactly. 100%. And I think where we're now in the sort of, I heard someone say it the other day, is we're not necessarily in the pitch deck phase anymore. We're now in the MVP phase. So people will now start asking you, okay, cool, but show me rather than explain to me. And because we have tools available for that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
I mean, I have to stop because I can go on for days. But it's a very interesting, very interesting. Thank you. There's a lot of food for thought here and a lot of tools to go and play with and test out. So really, thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, I would start off with the tools in the Notion sites, like choose between Miro and FigJam. Obviously, like choose specific tools in the same areas, but yeah, 100% would suggest Claude, Puku, and Figma as sort of the big ones to go and test out.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.